Can you hold the fingers to show me how many years old are you? Sometimes you use your fingers to count or even add numbers together. Last time, we talked about the Auca in South America. They use their fingers and toes to count. Instead of saying 10, they might say the fingers on two hands. Their language was different from any other language on earth, but there were some people who wanted to learn it. Nate Saint and his sister Rachel hoped the Yuma would help missionaries learn the Auca language so they could tell the Auca about Jesus. When the Yuma first met Rachel, they couldn't talk to each other because they didn't speak the same language. Someone else had to ask her, "Will you help this lady learn the Auca language?" Kids, put your thumbs up if you think the Yuma said yes, and put your thumbs down if you think the Yuma said no. Good job, children! The Yuma said yes! Good job to those who did this, the thumbs up. But do you know that teaching Rachel the Auca language was very difficult? The Yuma had forgotten many of the words too. When she could remember words, she had to act them out to help Rachel understand them. She even got down on the floor and cried like a baby to help Rachel learn the word for crying. One of the words was iwa. Can you say the word, kids? Iwa. Good job. Now kids, see if you can guess what it means. Like what the Yuma did, someone will act out. So I'll call Kuya Chester. Okay. What do you think iwa or the word iwa means? Did you see Kuya Chester acting earlier, right? Can you use the chat box or maybe you can tell it to your seatmate or someone who is near to you? What do you think iwa means? The word iwa. Good job, children! The word iwa means monkey. And remember, during our first lesson, children, monkey is one of the favorite foods of Auca people, especially the Yuma. So aside from iwa, which means monkey, there's another word, Nemo. Can you say the word again? Nemo. Do you know what does that mean? Okay, I'll give you some clues, children. You can see it during nighttime and you can see it there, from above. What does the word Nemo mean? Good job, children. Nemo means star. During the months that the Yuma was helping the missionaries learn the Auca language, Nate would sometimes fly his airplane over them and drop bags of mail from the sky for the missionaries. The Yuma was amazed that Nate's sister could get messages from other people far away. She was even more amazed when the missionaries told her, "God has a message for you to tell you how to live well." The Yuma was excited. Can you show me what it looks like when you are excited? Like that, right? You're probably very happy. The Yuma was excited to learn God's messages for her. A message from God, she thought. I want to know God's message for me. She tried even harder to help Nate's sister learn her language so she could find out more about God. She also told Rachel about her family and why she had run away. The Yuma told Rachel about the Aucas. "They are killers," she said. She told Rachel many sad stories about the Aucas, attacking people and killing people. Rachel knew these stories were true. Remember, Nate had told her about them? One time, Nate was using his airplane to deliver some supplies in the jungle. He was just about to leave when someone came running and yelling for help. Can you yell like you are asking for help? Help! Help! Probably that's what Nate Saint heard. Two people nearby had been attacked by Aucas and they needed Nate to take them to see a doctor. The Aucas had stabbed them with spears and they were hurt badly. Nate helped them get in the plane and quickly flew them to get help. The people who had been hurt were very mad or very angry at the Aucas and wanted to get back at them. "We will pay you to fly back into the jungle and shoot one of the Aucas with a gun," they told Nate. But Nate didn't want to hurt the Aucas. "I don't want to kill them. I want to save their lives by telling them about the Lord Jesus Christ. That's what Nate had told them. This was the first time he had been so close to an Auca attack. It reminded him of how much the Aucas needed to hear about Jesus. Nate thought about the Aucas a lot and prayed for them as he flew his yellow airplane from place to place in the jungle, delivering supplies for the other missionaries. He also met other missionaries who wanted to help the Aucas. Kids, let's pretend to fly in the plane with Nate and meet some of these missionaries. The missionaries we're going to meet all have something in common. See if you can figure out what it is, okay kids? I'll ask you later, so listen carefully. Fasten your seatbelt, we're going to take off. First, we're going to visit Roger's family. What's the name again of the missionary that we're gonna visit first? Roger. Good job. Roger wanted to help people in the jungle to hear about Jesus, even the Aucas. He was not afraid of telling dangerous people about God. He had gone into jungle to meet a dangerous chief from a different tribe. At first, the chief wanted to kill Roger, but then the chief got very sick. When Roger prayed for him and gave him medicine, the chief got better. And you know what happened now? They became friends because of that. And now, Roger could tell about Jesus to this chief because they are now friends. This is one of the ways that missionaries use the medicine that Nate would bring them in his airplane. Now, children, let's pretend to get a box of medicine. Come, let's get a box of medicine from the airplane and give it to Roger. That's what Nate Saint is doing, and look how God is using the boxes of medicine to minister to the chief and to the other people in the jungle. Buckle up! We're going to take off again! Kids, can you make some noise again? Noise of an airplane? Good job! That's the sound of an airplane. We're going to take food and other supplies to Jim and Billy Elliot. Can you see the name? Probably some of you have heard that name. Jim Elliot and Betty Elliot. Missionaries in the jungle couldn't just go to the store to buy what they needed. Do you know why? Because there were no stores. So Nate brought the medicines they needed in his airplane. Now kids, let's pretend to give a bag of food again to Jim and Betty. This time to Jim and Betty Elliot, because earlier to Roger, remember? Do you know that Nate really liked taking food to Jim and Betty Elliot, and he would sometimes stay to eat lunch and talk with them. Nate and Jim especially liked to talk about the Aucas. Jim had heard about the Aucas even before he came to the jungle, and he had been praying for years that God would let him tell the Aucas about Jesus. But soon Nate would have to get back in the plane to fly and help another missionary. Kids, can you make another some noise? Noise of an airplane? Yes, good job children! His friend, Ed, was building a new house in the part of the jungle that was near the Aucas land. Ed knew it was dangerous, but he wanted to make friends with the Aucas and tell them about Jesus. Nate was good at inventing and building things, so he helped make a loud alarm with a bright light to scare the Aucas away if they tried to hurt Ed's family. Now kids, let's pretend to help Nate and Ed. Can you try to build some house, kids? Good job, kids! These are just some of the activities Ed and Nate were doing. Nate liked planning and building things, but sometimes he had to change plans if there was an emergency. His friend Pete might call on the radio and say, "Someone got hurt in an accident. We need you to fly them to the doctor." And Nate would have to hurry to use his plane like an ambulance. What are you gonna hear when you know the ambulance is coming? Good job, that's the sound of an ambulance. But in the jungle, there's no ambulance. The airplane would also serve as an ambulance. If someone was very sick or hurt badly, Nate's plane was the only way to take people to the doctor before it was too late. Nate would quickly help Pete to carry the injured person in the plane and strap them inside. Now kids, let's pretend we are helping carry someone who is hurt. Kids, like this, you are helping someone who is hurt. That's what Nate Saint is doing when he's helping Pete, his friend. When there was not an emergency, Nate liked to stay for a while to chat with Pete and his wife. Pete had also been praying for a very long time that God would help them tell the Aucas about Jesus. These are just some of the missionaries that Nate helped in the jungle, but these all had something in common. Before I ask you that question again, children, remember earlier, I told you to listen carefully because I'm gonna ask you the question, what do these missionaries have in common? Before I ask that, can you help me review what are the names of the missionaries again? What's the first name? Good job, children! Roger! How about the couple, the Elliot? Good job, kids! Jim and Betty Elliot. And then the next one, the next missionary? Pete. So we've met 4 new missionaries aside from Nate Saint and his sister Rachel. Don't forget their names, okay? Roger, the Elliot, and Pete. Okay? Don't forget. Now, what do these missionaries have in common? Tell it to your seatmate, tell it to someone else, or maybe you can use the chat box. What do they have in common again? All these missionaries have been praying for a long time to tell the Aucas about Jesus. Really, they have that burden to share Jesus to other people, especially the Aucas, the people in the jungle. Eventually, children, they began working together as a team, and they began to plan to tell the Aucas about Jesus. And you know what, children? They called their team as Operation Auca. That's the reason why we call this lesson as Operation Auca. Because of Nate Saint, Rachel, Roger, Jim Elliot, Betty Elliot, and also Pete. They are the first members of the Operation Auca. If we're going to tell them about Jesus, we're going to find them first. Nate thought they knew the area the Aucas lived, but not exactly where. He took Ed flying over the jungle to look over for the Aucas' home. Now children, let's act like we're looking through an airplane window, trying to find a hut in the jungle below. Remember when we are riding an airplane, we are looking at the window like that? That's what probably the Operation Auca are doing. They searched until the plane was almost out of fuel. Finally, they saw Auca huts. They had found the Aucas they had been praying for. The missionaries on the Operation Auca team were very excited, but they knew many people were very angry with the Aucas. Some are even talking about attacking the Aucas and getting rid of them once and for all. The missionaries didn't want the Aucas to get hurt. They wanted to save their lives by telling them about Jesus. We need to keep this as a secret. They decided, and probably they're telling that to each other. But how would they help the Aucas, the most dangerous people on earth? How do you think they're gonna do that? The Operation Auca team. We could fly their airplane over their village and drop gifts to prove we like them. They decided. They knew the Yuma was teaching Nate's sister Rachel the Aucas language. Maybe the Yuma could teach them some words too. We could use a loudspeaker to shout Auca words from their airplane and tell them we want to be their friends. Will the missionaries be able to tell the Aucas about Jesus? Would the Aucas understand that the missionaries want to be their friends? Kids, you need to come back next week to find out the answers.